Shut your mouth and learn your place, girl. Officer Bradley Mitchell grabs his water bottle and deliberately pours it over pregnant Jasmine Washington's head. The liquid soaks through her hair, down her face, and onto her swollen 8-month belly as she sits helpless on the burning concrete. Mitchell towers over her with his hands on his hips, mirrored sunglasses reflecting her humiliation. Jasmine clutches her stomach protectively while water drips from her chin onto the scorching Georgia pavement. Shocked bystanders outside Peterson's grocery gasp and immediately pull out their phones. A woman covers her mouth in horror. A man shouts, "What the hell?" but keeps his distance. Jasmine slowly wipes her face, never breaking eye contact with the sneering officer. Her dignity remains unbroken despite sitting soaked and helpless on the street while 8 months pregnant. Have you ever seen evil get exactly what it deserves? 2 hours earlier, Jasmine Washington carefully navigates her Honda Accord through downtown Millbrook's afternoon traffic. The Georgia sun beats down mercilessly as she parks outside the medical plaza, her hands resting on her 8-month pregnant belly. She's still learning the streets of this small town. Just 2 months ago, she and her husband Daniel moved here from Atlanta when he accepted his new position. The transition has been harder than expected. Some neighbors wave politely, others stare with thinly veiled suspicion at the young black couple in their quiet subdivision. Jasmine checks her appointment reminder on her phone. Prenatal checkup at 3:30, then grocery shopping for tonight's dinner. She moves slowly, feeling the baby's weight as she walks toward Dr. Martinez's office. Her flowing blue maternity dress provides some relief from the oppressive heat. The appointment went well. The baby's heartbeat is strong, blood pressure normal. Dr. Martinez smiles warmly as she hands Jasmine her prenatal vitamin prescription. "Everything looks perfect. You're doing great, Mama." 20 minutes later, Jasmine pulls into Peterson's grocery parking lot. The store sits on Main Street's busiest intersection, surrounded by local businesses and constant foot traffic. Security cameras mounted on every corner capture the steady stream of customers. Inside the air-conditioned store, she moves through familiar aisles. Prenatal vitamins from the pharmacy counter, fresh vegetables for tonight's stir-fry. Whole-grain bread, Daniel requested. Other shoppers nod politely, though she notices some lingering stares at her out-of-state license displayed in her wallet. Meanwhile, Officer Bradley Mitchell cruises slowly through downtown in his patrol car. Radio chatter crackles about minor traffic violations and a noise complaint on Elm Street. He adjusts his mirrored sunglasses and scans the streets with practiced authority. Mitchell has patrolled these same blocks for 15 years. He knows every shortcut, every trouble spot, every face that belongs, and everyone that doesn't. His thick arms rest confidently on the steering wheel as he surveys his territory. The new sheriff has been trying to schedule one-on-one meetings with all patrol officers. Mitchell has successfully avoided these mandatory sessions for 2 months, citing conflicting schedules and urgent patrol duties. He works the day shift deliberately, knowing the sheriff handles mostly administrative duties during evening hours. Mitchell parks outside Rosie's diner and steps into the afternoon heat. His black uniform absorbs the sun's rays as he checks his watch. 2:45 p.m. Another 3 hours before his shift ends, and he can escape to his air-conditioned truck. Fellow officer Jennifer Hayes waves from across the street. She's fresh out of the academy, eager to prove herself worthy of the badge. Hayes attended last week's department meeting where Sheriff Washington discussed new community policing initiatives. She mentioned Mitchell's absence, earning his icy glare later in the locker room. "Old-school cops don't need lectures from outsiders," Mitchell had muttered while slamming his locker shut. Hayes said nothing, but her uncomfortable expression spoke volumes. Millbrook itself reflects this growing tension between old and new. The town council recently voted 4-3 on police reform measures after a viral video 3 months ago showed excessive force during a routine arrest. Local news station WMLB has been investigating department practices, interviewing longtime residents about their experiences with law enforcement. Some citizens demand accountability and transparency. Others defend their police officers as hard-working professionals, unfairly targeted by political correctness. Town meetings have become heated affairs where neighbors who once chatted pleasantly now argue across deep ideological divides. Mitchell climbs back into his patrol car and resumes his route. The radio remains quiet except for occasional status checks from dispatch. He drives past the courthouse where Confederate and American flags hang side by side, past the new Ethiopian restaurant that opened despite community opposition, past the recently integrated swimming pool that still draws protesters every summer. His phone buzzes with another meeting request from Sheriff Washington's office. Mitchell deletes it without reading and continues driving. He's heard enough about the new sheriff from other officers. Young, educated, progressive ideas about police work that contradict everything Mitchell learned from his father and grandfather, both retired cops themselves. Jasmine emerges from Peterson's grocery carrying 2 paper bags filled with fresh produce and household necessities. The afternoon heat hits her immediately, making her slightly dizzy. She takes slow, measured steps toward her car, feeling the baby shift restlessly inside her womb. Her Honda Accord sits in the parking lot with out-of-state plates clearly visible. She loads groceries into the back seat and starts the engine, grateful for the blast of cold air from the vents. As she pulls onto Main Street, Officer Mitchell's patrol car falls in behind her at the traffic light. Officer Mitchell's patrol car follows Jasmine's Honda through 2 green lights before his overhead flashers suddenly burst to life. Red and blue strobes reflect off her rearview mirror as the piercing siren cuts through the afternoon air. Jasmine's heart pounds as she immediately signals and pulls into the Petersons' grocery parking lot. She turns off the engine, places both hands on the steering wheel, and takes deep breaths to calm herself. The baby kicks restlessly against her ribs. Mitchell approaches the driver's side window with deliberate slowness, his heavy boots crunching on loose gravel. His mirrored sunglasses reflect Jasmine's anxious face as she rolls down her window. Sweet air conditioning escapes into the oppressive Georgia heat. "License and registration," Mitchell commands without introduction. His voice carries the authority of 15 years wearing the badge. "Step out of the vehicle." Jasmine reaches carefully for her purse, moving slowly to avoid any sudden gestures. "Officer, may I ask what I did wrong?" "I believe I was following all traffic laws." "Don't question me, just follow orders." Mitchell's jaw tightens as he watches her fumble through her wallet. "I said step out of the vehicle." "Now." "Sir, I'm 8 months pregnant. Could I please remain seated? I have all my documents right here." Jasmine's voice remains respectfully calm despite her racing pulse. Mitchell interprets her reasonable request as defiance. His radio crackles as he calls for backup, though no emergency exists. "Control, this is Unit 47 requesting additional support at Peterson's grocery. Traffic stop with an uncooperative subject." Curious shoppers begin gathering near the store entrance. Some pull out phones to record while others whisper among themselves. The growing audience only fuels Mitchell's determination to assert his authority. "Ma'am, I'm not asking again. Exit the vehicle immediately or you'll be arrested for obstruction." Mitchell's hand moves closer to his handcuffs as he speaks through clenched teeth. Jasmine complies reluctantly, using the car door for support as she struggles to stand. The scorching pavement radiates heat through her sandals while the baby's weight throws off her balance. She hands over her license and registration with trembling fingers. Mitchell examines her documents with exaggerated scrutiny. "Georgia driver's license, but you've got out-of-state plates on this vehicle. That's a violation right there." "We just moved here 2 months ago, sir. My husband's job transferred us from Atlanta. We're still updating our registration." Jasmine's explanation is truthful and reasonable. "Sure you are." Mitchell's tone drips with skepticism as he studies her license photo. "Jasmine Washington. New around here, huh? Better learn real quick how things work in this town." Officer Jennifer Hayes arrives in her patrol car, sirens silent but emergency lights flashing. She's barely 25 years old with 6 months of street experience. Hayes approaches cautiously, sensing the tension but unsure how to intervene. What's the situation, Mitchell? Hayes asks while observing Jasmine's obvious pregnancy and distressed condition. Routine traffic stop. The subject ran the stop sign back at Maple and 3rd. Mitchell's lie comes effortlessly. Security cameras at that intersection will later prove Jasmine came to a complete stop. Jasmine's eyes widened. Officer, I absolutely stopped at that intersection. I'm a very careful driver, especially now that I'm pregnant. Are you calling me a liar? Mitchell steps closer, using his imposing frame to intimidate. Because that sounds like obstruction to me. The crowd of onlookers continues growing. Several people hold phones high, recording every interaction. A local business owner emerges from his shop, shaking his head at the obvious harassment unfolding in broad daylight. Sir, I would never call you a liar. I'm simply stating what I know to be true. Jasmine maintains her composure despite feeling increasingly vulnerable standing in the parking lot heat. Mitchell notices the cameras and realizes his fabricated traffic violation won't withstand scrutiny. Rather than backing down, he decides to escalate. I'm detecting the odor of marijuana coming from your vehicle. That gives me probable cause to search. That's impossible, officer. I don't use any substances, especially while pregnant. You're welcome to have me tested. Jasmine's voice wavers slightly as she realizes the gravity of her situation. Don't tell me what I can and cannot smell. Mitchell moves toward her car, his aggressive body language clear to every witness. Hayes, watch the subject while I conduct a search. Officer Hayes looks uncomfortable but follows orders. She positions herself near Jasmine while avoiding direct eye contact. Her silence speaks volumes about the department's culture of protecting fellow officers regardless of their actions. Mitchell begins aggressively searching Jasmine's Honda, pulling items from the glove compartment and center console. He dumps her purse contents onto the hood, scattering prenatal vitamins, medical appointment cards, and family photos across the hot metal surface. Please be careful with those, Jasmine pleads. Some of those photos are irreplaceable. Should have thought about that before breaking the law. Mitchell continues his invasive search, clearly hoping to find something incriminating. Finding nothing, his frustration grows visibly. The afternoon sun beats down mercilessly on the asphalt parking lot. Jasmine begins showing signs of heat exhaustion, slight swaying, perspiration beading on her forehead despite her efforts to stay calm. The baby kicks uncomfortably against her overheated body. Officer, could I please sit down or move to some shade? This heat is making me dizzy. Her request is medically reasonable and obviously necessary. You stand right there until I'm finished. Mitchell's callousness shocks even some of his usual supporters in the crowd. A pregnant woman's welfare should transcend any political divisions. An elderly woman from the crowd calls out, "Let her sit down, for heaven's sake!" She's pregnant. Several others murmur agreement, creating mounting social pressure. Mitchell spins around to face the witnesses. Does anyone else want to interfere with a police investigation? I've got plenty of handcuffs for the whole crowd. His threat temporarily silences the onlookers, but phones continue recording. Social media posts are already appearing online with hashtags like #PregnantWomanAbused and #Millbrook Hayes shifts nervously from foot to foot. Her academy training emphasized de-escalation and community relations, but speaking up against a senior officer could end her career before it starts. She watches Jasmine struggle in the heat and feels her conscience battling her professional survival instincts. Mitchell, maybe we should... Hayes begins tentatively. Maybe you should focus on doing your job instead of second-guessing mine, Mitchell snaps without looking up from his fruitless search. Jasmine clutches the car door for support as another wave of dizziness washes over her. The combination of pregnancy, stress, and oppressive heat is taking its toll. She needs water, shade, and medical attention, but Mitchell seems determined to deny her basic human decency. Please, officer. I think something's wrong. The baby hasn't moved in several minutes. Genuine fear creeps into Jasmine's voice as she realizes her child might be in distress. Mitchell finally looks up from his search, empty-handed and increasingly frustrated. He's found no contraband, no evidence of wrongdoing, nothing to justify his aggressive treatment of a pregnant woman. The growing crowd and recording phones have trapped him in a situation of his own making. Rather than show mercy or professional judgment, Mitchell makes the decision that will define both their futures. Mitchell slams Jasmine's car door shut with unnecessary force. The metallic bang echoes across the parking lot as frustrated rage clouds his judgment. He's found nothing incriminating despite his aggressive search, yet backing down now would signal weakness to the growing crowd of witnesses. "Since you want to play games, we're doing this the hard way." Mitchell's voice carries a dangerous edge as he moves closer to Jasmine. "Turn around and place your hands on the vehicle." Jasmine's eyes widened in disbelief. "Officer, what are you arresting me for? I haven't broken any laws." Obstruction of justice, failure to comply with lawful orders, and suspicious behavior. Each fabricated charge rolls off Mitchell's tongue with practiced ease. His 15 years of experience have taught him how to manipulate legal language when needed. The crowd murmurs uneasily as several people recognize the obvious injustice unfolding before them. A middle-aged black man steps forward, his voice filled with controlled anger. "This is wrong! She's pregnant, and she's done nothing." Mitchell whirls around, his hand instinctively moving toward his service weapon. "Step back right now or you'll join her." The threat of violence silences the man but intensifies the crowd's outrage. Officer Hayes watches helplessly as her colleague spirals deeper into abuse of authority. Her radio remains silent. She could call for a supervisor but knows that would end her career. The unwritten code of police loyalty conflicts with everything she learned about proper procedure. "Mitchell, maybe we should just write her a warning and—" Hayes attempts to intervene once more. "Shut up, Hayes! You follow my lead, or find another job." Mitchell's verbal assault on his junior colleague reveals his complete loss of professional control. Jasmine struggles to turn around while supporting her pregnant belly. The baby kicks frantically against her ribs as stress hormones flood her system. Standing in the direct sunlight for 20 minutes has left her lightheaded and nauseated. "I need to sit down. Please, something's wrong with the baby." Her plea carries genuine medical urgency, but Mitchell interprets it as manipulation. "Nothing's wrong except your attitude." Mitchell positions himself directly behind Jasmine, forcing her to lean against the scorching hot car. The metal hood burns through her maternity dress, while the asphalt radiates heat beneath her sandaled feet. The late afternoon sun beats down mercilessly on the exposed parking lot. Heat waves shimmer off the pavement while Jasmine's dark maternity dress absorbs every degree of the oppressive temperature. Her face flushes red as dehydration symptoms begin manifesting. A local business owner emerges from his shop carrying a bottle of water. "Officer, at least let her drink something. It's 95 degrees out here." Mitchell blocks the man's approach with an outstretched arm. "Nobody interferes with my investigation. Get back inside before I arrest you too." The business owner reluctantly retreats, but his frustrated expression mirrors the crowd's growing anger. Several people are now live-streaming the incident on social media platforms, adding real-time commentary about police brutality and racial profiling. "This is absolutely disgusting," a woman narrates into her phone camera. A pregnant black woman being tortured by police in broad daylight. This is Millbrook, Georgia, and this is happening right now. The live stream viewer count climbs rapidly as shares and notifications spread across multiple platforms. Comments pour in from viewers expressing outrage and demanding the officer's identification and badge number. Jasmine's breathing becomes shallow and rapid. Heat exhaustion symptoms intensify as perspiration soaks through her dress. She grips the car's side mirror for support while trying to protect her unborn child from the crushing heat. "Please, officer. I think I'm having complications. The baby isn't moving normally." Medical distress replaces fear in her voice as maternal instincts override personal safety concerns. Mitchell notices the growing crowd and multiple recording devices. Instead of recognizing the legal liability he's creating, his ego demands victory regardless of consequences. He's committed too far to retreat without losing face completely. "You should have thought about your baby before you decided to break the law," Mitchell responds callously. His words shock even his usual supporters in the crowd as basic human decency evaporates. An elderly white woman shakes her head in disgust. "I've lived in this town 70 years and never seen anything so shameful. That poor girl needs help, not harassment." Her words carry weight among longtime residents who remember when community policing meant protecting everyone equally. Even those typically supportive of law enforcement begin questioning Mitchell's extreme tactics. Officer Hayes fidgets nervously with her radio. She knows calling for a supervisor would be the right thing to do, but her training sergeant warned repeatedly about officers who snitch on colleagues ending up without backup when they need it most. The internal conflict tears at her conscience as she watches a pregnant woman suffer unnecessary abuse. Her silence makes her complicit in whatever happens next. Yet speaking up could destroy her law enforcement career before it truly begins. Mitchell retrieves his water bottle from his patrol car with deliberate slowness. For a moment, witnesses believe he's finally showing basic human compassion. The crowd watches hopefully as he approaches Jasmine with the clear plastic container. "You want water?" Mitchell asks with false concern. His tone should have warned everyone what was coming next. "Yes, please. Thank you." Jasmine's relief is palpable as she prepares to accept the life-saving hydration. Instead of offering the bottle, Mitchell unscrews the cap and positions himself directly above her. "Maybe this will cool down your attitude, sweetheart." The water cascades over Jasmine's head and shoulders, soaking her hair and maternity dress. Liquid streams down her face and onto her swollen belly while Mitchell watches with sadistic satisfaction. The empty plastic bottle clatters to the pavement as gasps of horror ripple through the crowd. "Oh my God!" a woman screams. "Someone called his supervisor!" "That's assault!" another voice shouts. "You can't do that to a pregnant woman." "Are you getting this?" a teenage boy asks his friend while adjusting his phone camera angle. "This cop just tortured a pregnant lady." Phones capture every angle of the water assault as social media notifications begin pinging across multiple platforms. The hashtag water torture starts trending locally within minutes as the video spreads like wildfire. Jasmine sits on the burning concrete, one hand protecting her belly while the other slowly wipes water from her eyes. Despite the public humiliation, she maintains eye contact with Mitchell, refusing to give him the satisfaction of breaking her spirit. Her wet dress clings uncomfortably to her skin while the hot pavement burns through the thin fabric. Water drips steadily from her hair onto the asphalt, creating small, dark spots that evaporate almost immediately in the intense heat. "Feel better now?" Mitchell sneers as he towers over his victim. His uniform is completely dry while water drips from Jasmine's soaked clothing onto the hot asphalt. Officer Hayes stares in shock at her colleague's behavior. Her academy training never prepared her for witnessing such blatant abuse of authority. She knows she should intervene, but fears the career consequences of opposing a senior officer. The crowd's anger reaches a boiling point as several people begin shouting demands for justice. "Arrest him!" someone yells. "He's supposed to protect people, not torture them!" A group of teenagers begins chanting, "Shame, shame, shame," while recording everything on their phones. Their voices carry across the parking lot, drawing even more attention from nearby businesses and pedestrians. Mitchell spins toward the witnesses with renewed aggression. "Anyone else want to obstruct my investigation? I've got plenty of room in my patrol car." His threats temporarily quiet the crowd, but phones continue recording every moment. Local news stations are already monitoring social media feeds, and reporters are en route to the scene. The incident is rapidly becoming a public relations nightmare for the entire police department. Jasmine struggles to stand, using her car for support as water continues dripping from her hair. The combination of heat, stress, and physical abuse has left her visibly shaken. She places both hands on her belly, feeling for the baby's movement with growing concern. "The baby stopped kicking," she whispers to herself, loud enough for nearby witnesses to hear. Maternal panic overrides everything else as she realizes her child might be in distress. Mitchell prepares handcuffs while positioning himself behind Jasmine once again. "You're under arrest for obstruction of justice and resisting arrest." "I haven't resisted anything," Jasmine responds weakly. Her voice lacks its earlier strength as exhaustion and medical concerns take their toll. "You're resisting right now by arguing with me." Mitchell's circular logic reveals his complete abandonment of proper police procedure. He's creating crimes to justify his predetermined conclusion. A local reporter arrives at the scene, having monitored police radio traffic. She immediately begins interviewing witnesses while her cameraman captures establishing shots of the confrontation. The presence of professional media elevates the incident's significance beyond social media posts. Hayes finally finds her voice as she watches Mitchell prepare to arrest a pregnant woman for non-existent crimes. "Mitchell, this has gone far enough. She needs medical attention. Mind your own business, rookie." Mitchell's harsh response to his colleague reveals the toxic culture that enables such behavior. Junior officers learn quickly that loyalty to bad cops matters more than serving the public. The crowd grows larger as word spreads through nearby businesses. Shop owners, customers, and pedestrians gather to witness what many recognize as a clear abuse of power. Their collective presence creates mounting pressure for accountability. Jasmine's condition deteriorates visibly as heat exhaustion symptoms intensify. She sways slightly while gripping the car door, her face pale despite the oppressive temperature. Medical intervention is becoming urgently necessary. "I need to call my emergency contact," Jasmine manages to say between labored breaths. "Please let me call my husband." Mitchell laughs mockingly at her request. "Calling your baby daddy to come save you?" This should be interesting. He has no idea that the phone number Jasmine provides will connect directly to the sheriff's office, where her husband Daniel Washington is reviewing budget reports in his air-conditioned office. The dispatcher dials Jasmine's emergency contact number while Mitchell continues his verbal harassment. The phone rings once, twice, then connects to a calm, professional voice that chills the blood of anyone who recognizes it. "Sheriff's office. Sheriff Washington speaking." Mitchell freezes mid-sentence as the familiar voice echoes through the dispatcher's radio. The name Washington suddenly registers in his consciousness, but he can't process the connection. His brain refuses to accept what his ears are hearing. "Sir, we have a pregnant woman requesting to speak with you about an emergency situation," the dispatcher reports, glancing nervously at Mitchell's confused expression. "Put her through immediately," Sheriff Washington responds without hesitation. His authoritative tone carries the weight of absolute command. Jasmine takes the radio with trembling hands. "Daniel? Thank God. I'm at Peterson's grocery and I need you here right now. The baby. Something might be wrong." Mitchell's face drains of all color as the pieces finally connect. Washington. Sheriff Washington. The pregnant black woman he's been torturing for the past hour is married to his boss, the man he's been deliberately avoiding for 2 months, the new sheriff whose authority he's been undermining through passive resistance. "I'm on my way, honey. Stay calm. Everything's going to be okay." Daniel's voice carries both tenderness for his wife and barely controlled fury at the situation. The radio goes silent as Mitchell staggers backward against his patrol car. His hands shake uncontrollably while sweat pours down his face despite the shade from his vehicle. 15 years of police authority crumble in an instant. "Oh shit," Officer Hayes whispers as she recognizes the full magnitude of their situation. She immediately steps away from Mitchell, creating physical distance from the career-ending disaster unfolding before her. The crowd senses something momentous is happening. Whispered conversations spread through the gathered witnesses as those who recognized the sheriff's name explained to others. Cell phone cameras capture Mitchell's dawning horror in high definition. "Did he just torture the sheriff's wife?" someone asks in disbelief. "He's dead. His career is over," another voice responds with certainty. 3 minutes later, an unmarked black SUV with government plates arrives at the scene. The vehicle moves with quiet authority through the crowd as people instinctively step aside. Every longtime Millbrook resident recognizes that SUV. Sheriff Daniel Washington emerges from the driver's seat wearing his full dress uniform. At 6 feet 3 inches tall, with broad shoulders and commanding presence, he radiates the kind of natural authority that can't be faked or learned. His badge gleams in the afternoon sunlight. Mitchell initially doesn't recognize the man approaching. The sheriff looks younger than expected, more athletic, more imposing. This isn't the bureaucratic administrator Mitchell imagined during their months of avoiding each other. "Who called the county? This is a city jurisdiction." Mitchell protests weakly, still not comprehending who stands before him. Daniel ignores Mitchell completely and walks directly to his wife. His professional mask slips for a moment as tender concern replaces official authority. "Jasmine, are you hurt? How's the baby?" "I think we're okay now," she responds while leaning into her husband's protective embrace. "But something felt wrong for a while there." The crowd watches in fascination as the tall, uniformed man helps his pregnant wife to her feet with gentle care. His wedding ring catches the sunlight as he steadies her swaying form. Mitchell squints at the approaching figure, trying to process the uniform details. The shirt displays sergeant stripes, but something seems wrong. Too many stripes. Too much brass. His brain struggles to decode the rank insignia. "Wait. That's not..." Mitchell's voice trails off as he finally reads the embroidered nameplate. "Washington, Sheriff." The realization hits like a physical blow. This black man in the impressive uniform isn't county backup or state police. This is Daniel Washington, the new sheriff of Millbrook County, the boss Mitchell has been avoiding, the husband of the pregnant woman he just tortured with water in front of dozens of witnesses. "Oh God, oh no, 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 no." Mitchell's legs nearly give out as he grabs his patrol car for support. Sweat pours down his face while his hands shake uncontrollably. Sheriff Washington helps his wife sit in the shade of a nearby storefront before turning his attention to the officers. His movement is deliberate, controlled, and absolutely terrifying in its calm professionalism. "Officer Mitchell," Daniel says quietly. His voice carries no emotion, which makes it infinitely more intimidating than shouting would be. "Do you know who I am?" "Yes, sir, you're the sheriff. I didn't recognize..." Mitchell's voice cracks as he attempts to form coherent sentences. "And do you know who this woman is?" Daniel gestures toward Jasmine, who sits recovering in the shade. Sir, I had no idea she was your wife. We've never been formally introduced. Different shifts. I was going to..." Mitchell's desperate excuses tumble out in a panicked rush. "So you've been avoiding department meetings for 2 months, haven't you?" Daniel's question lands with surgical precision. Mitchell realizes his pattern of avoidance has been noticed and documented. His attempts to circumvent the new sheriff's authority have been meticulously recorded. There will be no plausible deniability. "Sir, I can explain everything. This is all a misunderstanding. I was just doing my job and..." "Your job?" Daniel's voice rises slightly for the first time. "Your job is to pour water on pregnant women?" The crowd murmurs appreciatively as their new sheriff demonstrates exactly the kind of leadership they hoped for when he was appointed. Cell phone cameras capture every moment of Mitchell's professional execution. Officer Hayes steps forward with her hands raised in surrender. "Sheriff, I tried to stop him. I told him this was wrong, but he wouldn't listen." Daniel studies the junior officer carefully. "We'll discuss your role later, Officer Hayes. Right now, my concern is my wife's medical condition, and this officer's complete violation of his oath. Mitchell attempts one final desperate plea. Sheriff, please. I've got 15 years on the force, my pension, my family. Please don't destroy my life over a misunderstanding. Daniel looks at his pregnant wife sitting exhausted in the shade, then back at the pathetic officer begging for mercy he showed no one else. Officer Mitchell, you're suspended immediately pending investigation. Sheriff Washington extends his hand toward Mitchell with calm authority. Your badge and service weapon, now! Mitchell's trembling fingers fumble with his badge holder as the weight of his destruction settles in. 15 years of police authority dissolve in seconds as he reluctantly removes the star-shaped symbol from his chest. The metal feels impossibly heavy in his sweating palm. Sir, please reconsider. I've got 2 kids in college and a mortgage. This job is everything to me. Mitchell's voice cracks with desperation as he realizes his pension and benefits are disappearing before his eyes. You should have considered that before you tortured my pregnant wife in public. Daniel's response carries no sympathy as he accepts the badge and drops it into an evidence bag. The service weapon comes next, removed from its holster with shaking hands. Mitchell's identity as a law enforcement officer vanishes completely as he surrenders the tools of his former authority. The crowd watches silently as power transfers from oppressor to protector. Officer Hayes quickly removes her own badge and weapon before being ordered to do so. Sheriff, I want to cooperate fully with any investigation. I should have stopped this sooner. Yes, you should have. Daniel's assessment is brutally honest, but not without compassion for the junior officer's impossible position. You're also suspended pending review of your actions. Paramedics arrive at the scene after being called by concerned witnesses. They immediately focus on Jasmine's condition, checking her blood pressure and monitoring the baby's heartbeat with portable equipment. The medical attention Mitchell denied her for an hour materializes instantly under proper leadership. Ma'am, your blood pressure is elevated but not dangerous. The baby's heartbeat is strong and regular. The paramedics' reassuring words bring visible relief to both Jasmine and Daniel. Mitchell makes one final attempt at damage control. Jasmine, Mrs. Washington, I sincerely apologize for any misunderstanding. I was just following protocol for traffic stops. Jasmine looks at him with a mixture of pity and disgust. There was no misunderstanding, Officer Mitchell. You deliberately humiliated me because of my race. You poured water on a pregnant woman in 95-degree heat. Her calm dignity in the face of his pathetic apology demonstrates the vast character difference between victim and perpetrator. The crowd nods appreciatively at her measured response to his insincere attempt at reconciliation. Daniel reads Mitchell his constitutional rights in full view of the assembled witnesses. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. The irony of a black sheriff reading rights to a white officer who just committed civil rights violations isn't lost on anyone present. Cell phone cameras capture every word of the historic moment. Local news reporter Sarah Lane arrives with her camera crew just as Mitchell is being formally processed. Her live broadcast reaches thousands of viewers immediately as the story begins spreading beyond social media. This is Sarah Lane, reporting live from Millbrook, where we're witnessing the aftermath of a shocking incident involving police misconduct. A pregnant black woman was allegedly assaulted by Officer Bradley Mitchell before her husband, Sheriff Daniel Washington, arrived at the scene. The news crew's presence elevates the incident from local controversy to statewide attention. Mitchell realizes his humiliation will be broadcast across Georgia within hours. Multiple witnesses eagerly approach the news crew to provide their accounts of Mitchell's behavior. Their testimonies create a damning narrative of abuse that will be impossible to refute or minimize. I've never seen anything so disgusting, reports one elderly witness. That poor pregnant woman just sitting there while he poured water on her head like she was an animal. Daniel coordinates with the arriving investigators while maintaining protective oversight of his wife. His professional demeanor impresses everyone present as he balances personal concern with official duties. I want a complete investigation by Internal Affairs and the State Bureau. Every witness interviewed, every video analyzed, every policy violation documented. His instructions leave no room for departmental cover-up or minimization. Mitchell sits in the back of a patrol car as his former colleagues process the scene around him. The vehicle's air conditioning provides relief from the heat, but nothing can cool the burning shame of his public destruction. Hayes provides a detailed statement to investigators, clearly establishing her attempts to intervene and Mitchell's refusal to listen. Her cooperation may save her career while ensuring Mitchell's termination. Social media explodes with outrage as videos of the incident spread across multiple platforms. Water torture and Millbrook police trend nationally as viewers demand justice and accountability. The mayor's office receives hundreds of phone calls within the first hour as public pressure builds for swift action. City council members distance themselves from Mitchell while praising Sheriff Washington's leadership. This incident does not represent the values of our community, Mayor Patricia Holmes announces in an emergency press conference. We will cooperate fully with all investigations and take appropriate action. Daniel helps Jasmine into his SUV for the trip to the hospital for precautionary examination. Her dignity throughout the ordeal has impressed everyone present and will be remembered long after Mitchell's disgrace is forgotten. "Are you ready to go home, Mrs. Sheriff?" Daniel asks with gentle humor as he starts the engine. "I'm ready for justice," Jasmine responds with quiet determination. Within 48 hours, FBI Special Agent Maria Rodriguez arrives in Millbrook, carrying a briefcase full of federal civil rights violation paperwork. Her dark suit and no-nonsense demeanor signal the seriousness of the investigation as she establishes a temporary field office in the courthouse. "This isn't just about one incident," Agent Rodriguez explains to Sheriff Washington during their first meeting. "We're examining patterns of behavior that suggest systemic civil rights violations." The FBI's digital forensics team analyzes dozens of cell phone videos from multiple angles, creating a comprehensive timeline of Mitchell's abuse. High-definition footage captures every detail of the water assault, his racist language, and his complete disregard for Jasmine's medical condition. Meanwhile, Mitchell's 15-year personnel file reveals a disturbing pattern of complaints that were minimized or ignored by previous leadership. Citizens had filed 17 formal complaints alleging excessive force, racial profiling, and verbal abuse. None resulted in serious disciplinary action. "He's been getting away with this behavior for years," Agent Rodriguez tells the assembled media during her first press conference. Federal civil rights laws exist specifically to address this type of systematic abuse of authority. The story explodes across national media as CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News all feature the incident prominently. The visual of a pregnant black woman being doused with water by a white police officer becomes an instantly recognizable symbol of police brutality. Civil rights attorney Benjamin Hayes takes Jasmine's case pro bono after watching the viral video. His Atlanta-based firm specializes in police misconduct cases and has secured millions in settlements for victims of abuse. "What happened to Mrs. Washington represents everything wrong with policing in America," Attorney Hayes announces at his press conference. "We will pursue both criminal charges and civil remedies to ensure this never happens again." The federal grand jury convenes within 30 days, hearing testimony from dozens of witnesses who observed Mitchell's behavior. The proceedings move swiftly as prosecutors present overwhelming evidence of civil rights violations. Mitchell's defense attorney attempts to portray the incident as a misunderstanding, claiming his client was following standard police procedures. The argument collapses immediately when prosecutors play the water-pouring video in open court. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," federal prosecutor Sandra Williams states during opening arguments, "you will see a 15-year police veteran deliberately torture a pregnant woman for the crime of driving while black." The trial becomes a media sensation as court TV provides gavel-to-gavel coverage. Expert witnesses testify about the medical dangers of forcing pregnant women to stand in extreme heat without water or shade. Dr. Elizabeth Martinez, Jasmine's obstetrician, takes the witness stand to explain the serious risks Mitchell's actions posed to both mother and child. Heat exhaustion during pregnancy can cause premature labor, placental abruption, and fetal distress. This officer's behavior was medically reckless. The prosecution methodically presents video evidence from 17 different camera angles, creating an undeniable record of Mitchell's abuse. Each clip shows different aspects of his cruelty, from the illegal search to the water assault. Witness after witness testifies about Mitchell's pattern of racist behavior toward black citizens. Former victims emerge from years of silence to share their experiences with the same officer who tortured Jasmine. "He pulled me over 6 times in 2 years for nothing," testifies Marcus Johnson, a local teacher. "Always the same harassment, always the same racial slurs. I stopped driving through certain parts of town just to avoid him." Mitchell's defense strategy centers on claiming he feared for his safety during a routine traffic stop. The argument becomes laughable when prosecutors demonstrate that Jasmine was 8 months pregnant, unarmed, and completely compliant throughout the encounter. Officer Hayes testifies for the prosecution, describing Mitchell's pattern of misconduct and the department culture that protected him. Her testimony proves devastating as she details multiple incidents she witnessed but was afraid to report. "I knew what he was doing was wrong," Hayes admits under oath. "But I was told repeatedly that officers who report colleagues don't get backup when they need it. The message was clear: stay silent or find another job." The jury deliberates for only 4 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all federal charges: civil rights violations, assault under color of authority, and conspiracy to deprive constitutional rights. Judge Patricia Stevens delivers a harsh sentence during the penalty phase. "Your actions represent everything law enforcement should never be. You used your badge as a weapon against an innocent pregnant woman." Mitchell receives 5 years in federal prison plus 3 years supervised release. The sentence sends shockwaves through police departments nationwide as officers realize the federal government will prosecute civil rights violations aggressively. This sentence demonstrates that no one is above the law, U.S. Attorney General Lisa Thompson announces from Washington. Federal civil rights protections exist to prevent exactly this type of abuse. The civil lawsuit settles for $2.5 million, with the city accepting full responsibility for Mitchell's actions. The settlement agreement includes mandatory reforms to prevent similar incidents in the future. Police Chief Robert Thompson resigns under pressure after the FBI investigation reveals his systematic failure to address Mitchell's pattern of misconduct. His departure signals a complete leadership overhaul within the department. Officer Hayes receives a 6-month suspension but keeps her job after cooperating fully with investigators. She enrolls in additional training on civil rights and becomes an advocate for police accountability within the department. The Millbrook Police Department implements sweeping reforms as part of the federal settlement agreement. Body cameras become mandatory for all officers, citizen oversight boards gain real authority, and bias training becomes required annually. Sheriff Washington uses the incident as a catalyst for broader criminal justice reform throughout the county. His leadership during the crisis establishes him as a national voice for ethical law enforcement. This tragedy shows what happens when bad officers are protected instead of prosecuted, Daniel tells a gathering of police chiefs from across Georgia. "We must choose between protecting bad cops or protecting good communities." The incident becomes a case study in police academies nationwide as instructors use the video to demonstrate how not to conduct traffic stops. Mitchell's name became synonymous with police misconduct in law enforcement training materials. Congressional hearings on police reform cite the Millbrook incident as evidence for stronger federal oversight of local police departments. Lawmakers from both parties condemn Mitchell's actions while praising Sheriff Washington's leadership. The contrast between these two officers couldn't be clearer, Congressman James Wilson states during committee hearings. One represents everything wrong with policing, the other represents everything right. The viral video reaches over 100 million views across all platforms, making it one of the most watched police misconduct recordings in history. The hashtag #JusticeForJasmine became a rallying cry for civil rights activists nationwide. Mitchell begins serving his federal sentence at a minimum security facility in South Carolina. His wife files for divorce within 6 months, and his children change their last name to distance themselves from his legacy. The case establishes important legal precedent for prosecuting police officers who commit civil rights violations. Federal prosecutors cite the Millbrook precedent in dozens of subsequent cases against abusive officers. 3 weeks after Mitchell's sentencing, Jasmine gives birth to a healthy baby girl named Hope Elizabeth Washington. The delivery goes smoothly despite the trauma she endured during pregnancy, and both mother and daughter thrive under excellent medical care. Daniel holds his newborn daughter in the hospital room while news cameras capture the tender moment. "She represents everything we're fighting for," he tells reporters. "A future where all children can grow up safe and protected." The baby's birth becomes a powerful symbol of resilience overcoming hatred. Social media is filled with congratulatory messages as millions of people who followed Jasmine's story celebrate Hope's arrival into the world. Jasmine transforms her traumatic experience into a force for positive change. She joins the American Civil Liberties Union as a volunteer advocate, sharing her story at conferences and community meetings across the Southeast. "What happened to me wasn't just about one bad officer," Jasmine explains to a packed auditorium at Emory University. "It was about a system that protected him for 15 years while he terrorized innocent people." Her speaking engagements draw standing ovations as audiences connect with her dignity and determination. University students, community leaders, and even police officers acknowledge her courage in fighting for justice. Sheriff Washington implements revolutionary community policing programs that become models for departments nationwide. Crime rates drop significantly, while citizen complaints against officers virtually disappear under his leadership. "Trust isn't given, it's earned," Daniel explains to visiting police chiefs from around the country. "Every interaction between officers and citizens is an opportunity to build or destroy that trust." The Millbrook Police Department attracts national attention for its progressive approach to law enforcement. Young officers compete for positions in Daniel's department, eager to work under ethical leadership that prioritizes community service over aggressive enforcement. Mitchell serves his full federal sentence without possibility of early release. Prison records show he participates reluctantly in mandatory sensitivity training, but shows little genuine remorse for his actions. His family struggles financially after losing his pension and benefits. The foreclosure of their home and social ostracism serve as additional consequences for his choices. Former colleagues avoid association with his toxic legacy. The contrast between Mitchell's downfall and the Washington family's success illustrates the long-term consequences of choosing hatred over humanity. His name becomes a cautionary tale, while theirs represents hope and positive change. Millbrook transforms from a town divided by racial tension into a national model for community healing. New businesses open downtown, attracted by the progressive leadership and positive national attention. The annual Hope Festival celebrates unity and justice while raising funds for civil rights organizations. Thousands of visitors come to Millbrook each year to see where courage triumphed over cruelty. Local schools integrate Jasmine's story into their civics curriculum, teaching students about constitutional rights and the importance of standing up against injustice. Her example inspires a new generation of activists and community leaders. The viral video continues serving as evidence in federal civil rights training programs. Law enforcement agencies worldwide study the incident to understand how bias and abuse of authority destroy police legitimacy. Congressional legislation citing the Millbrook case strengthens federal oversight of local police departments. The Jasmine Washington Civil Rights Protection Act passes with bipartisan support, creating new accountability measures for law enforcement. Baby Hope grows into a healthy, happy toddler surrounded by a community that fought for her mother's dignity. Her first steps are taken in a town transformed by her parents' courage and determination. Daniel and Jasmine write a book about their experience titled "When Justice Prevails: A Family's Fight Against Police Brutality." Proceeds fund scholarships for students pursuing careers in civil rights law. The book became a bestseller, reaching audiences far beyond those who saw the original video. Readers around the world find inspiration in their story of perseverance and ultimate triumph over injustice. 3 years later, Mitchell remains in federal prison while the Washington family thrives. Their divergent paths demonstrate how individual choices create vastly different destinies. Today, Millbrook stands as proof that real change is possible when communities demand accountability from those sworn to protect them. The transformation didn't happen overnight, but persistent effort created lasting progress. Your voice matters in this ongoing fight for justice. Vote in every election, attend city council meetings, and demand transparency from your police department. Record what you see when officers abuse their authority. Support organizations fighting for civil rights in your community. Donate to legal defense funds that help victims of police misconduct. Share stories of both injustice and successful reform efforts. The next time you witness someone being treated unfairly because of their race, will you speak up or stay silent? Will you be a bystander or a witness for justice? What kind of community do you want your children to inherit? One where badge and uniform grant immunity from consequences, or one where everyone is held accountable for their actions? Subscribe and follow for more stories of justice served. Share this video so the world knows that courage can defeat cruelty and hope can triumph over hate.